Hi, I'm Alex Bradley here at Microsoft Envision 2016. Joining me today is Cathilea Robinett from e.Republic. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your role, and e.Republic.
Sure. Well, e.Republic is a great company that focuses primarily on state and local government and education. We do focus on federal, where federal policies overlap into state and local. So we have several magazines, wonderful websites, we do conferences around the nation, and we have 3 research institutes.
So supporting tech and policy decision makers at the state and local government
Exactly.
level. Now, what then brings you to Microsoft Envision?
Well, I've worked with Microsoft for years and really think they're kind of leading the charge in innovation. So I was invited here to be part of the specialist team that comes in and talks about the government market.
Now, I understand you're going to be talking about innovation in government, which some people might think of as an oxymoron, but you're quite passionate about. Tell me why.
I am passionate about it. When you think of government, most people think of lines or antiquated systems.
DMV.
Right. Or they could think of the crazy election that's going on right now. However,
It's hard not to.
Yes. When it comes to technology, though, there is so much going on in state and local. I think there are some mayors who are doing great, amazing work in the local space. County executives are also really getting this. Some governors around the country are making technology and innovation a priority as well. We have chief innovation officers, chief data officers.
So what are some of the examples coming out of whether it's counties or cities that you would highlight as innovation, tech innovation in state and local government?
Well, sure. I will say right here in the city, New Orleans, that we're in, you have a great mayor, Mitch Landrieu, who his leadership in this area is phenomenal. He's got a great technology team, a data officer, performance officer, innovation team, and they are using data actually and analytics probably better than most cities that I'm seeing, along with Louisville. Louisville also is doing a great job in the data analytics space.
It's interesting because, back in Seattle, Mayor Murray has hired a guy called Michael Matt Miller who's doing the same sort of chief digital officer type and, almost like an incubator type approach. Do you think that this is happening in public sector almost in isolation, or are people learning from the private sector and vice versa?
Well, it's interesting because the chief innovation officer for Los Angeles, for example, came from the private sector. I think you're having a lot of private sector influence coming into innovation offices. I also think you are getting people coming from the private sector sharing those best practices. Louisville, for example, they have done that. I know Maryland did that as well. So I think there's some cross-pollination there.
So the takeaway for people, whether at Microsoft Envision or watching this, at home, is that there are opportunities for technologists in state and local government.
Yes, we just launched our GovTech 100 list. So there are 100 companies just focused on tech in government. And it's so exciting. I was just looking at that list again today, and the apps and the development and the exciting things going on, I think companies who really want to do something with a purpose really have a chance.
And do you find companies creating a government practice, or are they able to blend across private sector and state and local government effectively?
Well, I think they start by doing both. I think the companies that are most successful really focus on the public sector just because it's quite unique, has different rules, and the procurement is a little bit longer than in the private sector.
Of course. And would you say that that's then even more of an opportunity to focus on state and local government, because then you're only dealing with sort of the procurement in one entity versus across multiple state lines?
Yes, I think you want to be strategic about where you go and really know those jurisdictions. When companies come in, they sometimes do a big, broad shot. I never recommend that. You want to pick a few locations and focus on that first.
Pick an area and pick a location.
Yeah.
Now, let's dive into a specific area, which I know that you're particularly interested in, which is around cybersecurity. There's clearly energy and focus on that at the federal level. How does that manifest itself at the state and local level?
Well, I think it has to manifest itself. It is, I think, the vital issue of our day. And we have to really deal with that. There are governors like Governor Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia. I'm a huge fan of his. He is a big-time cyber governor. Also, Governor Asa Hutchinson, from his federal experience, now is in Arkansas. He's really leading the charge there. There are some elected officials that are really picking this up and trying to hold people accountable and driving this as a major issue. So I am hopeful, but I think it needs to be funded more.
Well, funding is obviously one of the challenges in, government at all the different levels. When you think about state and local government, though, specifically, I think when people think cybersecurity, they often think defense. What are the activities as it pertains to cybersecurity that state and local government need to be investing in?
Well, I think every place has the possibility of a threat. Let's talk about hacktivism. Let's talk about Ferguson. Because of Ferguson and the hacktivists, the state of Missouri was pretty much shut down. So people don't think about those things. Or
And that
Baltimore.
wasn't just social media, that was the actual
No,
core
it was
infrastructure.
Core infrastructure, cybersecurity issues. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. You know, you think of Missouri as not, you know, command central on cybersecurity, but it was.
And that is relevant at all different levels, city, county, state.
Sure. Well, in fact, Alabama had a breach at the state level, and it was actually a police department in a very small city where the breach came from in the first place. So state, county, city, they have to work together. And we have to work together and make it a priority as a country.
Now, it's interesting because on the one hand, that's clearly a public, you know, imperative that we want to tackle that. But there's also an opportunity for, you know, whether it's consultancies, security technology, you know, how do you think about that in the context of the panel that you're giving here at Microsoft Envision?
Well, I think the private sector really is the partner here. And I think government looks towards the private sector for best practices and models, right? They're still in the same place with training that every other company is in America. So what are the best practices? What are the best technologies? And how can we work together to solve that?
You know, what do you think are the most exciting advances that are going to be happening in state and local government in the near future?
Well, I think the most exciting stuff really is around citizen engagement. If you look at what's happening today with voter turnout, and you look at the possibilities of apps in the voter area. In fact, there are students right now in Chicago that are working on this amazing voter app to really get the millennials involved. When you look at some of the GIS things that I've seen, you look at some of the social engineering apps. In San Francisco, for example, you could actually help a homeless person with a photo that you actually give money to that exact person, so you know exactly where it's going to go. So I'm more excited about kind of the social engineering apps that are coming.
Well, having just participated in my sort of the Washington State Caucus, it's clear that the sort of people are ready to be engaged. And another, you know, forgive me for the blatant plug, but Stan Freck, who's one of the other speakers here in this video series, is going to be talking about the app that we deployed in the Iowa caucuses to help capture the caucus results in a much more quick and easy format.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's great.
Cathilea, President of e.Republic, thanks so much.
Thank you.